Hello everybody and welcome back to another Magic the Gathering Arena video. My name is Kawazi and this is the deck that I'm going to get to Mythic with this season. This is the most fun thing I've played since Dominaria United came out. It is also really strong. I've called this deck Mossy Izzet. It's Izzet with some splashy green. I mean, arguably I'm splashing red, I've probably got more green in there, but the reason it's called that is it started off as an Izzet deck that I started adding green to, and I now actually have even more green than red, but it's blue, splash, green and red. We can call it Mossy Izzet for now. Let me just run through the idea and principle of the deck and why I've included the cards I've included. So, we've got no 1-drops. So it's a Temur deck, obviously, which tend to be quite high curve, and this one is no exception. We're running 4 Make Disappear and 2 Negates. We've got a little 6 counter spells in here. This is basically because of the black decks in the meta. Make Disappear is really nice for dealing with Graveyard Trespasser. It's really nice for hitting Fable. I appreciate it isn't a black card, but it is played in Rakdos decks primarily. It's really nice for hitting Invoke Despairs. So if we're coming up to those key turns and our opponent is playing in a way that indicates they could be holding one of those cards, this is where we want Make Disappear. It also has a nice little synergy with, it has Casualty 1, the Weatherseed Treaty gives us a 1-1 sapling that doesn't have lots of uses, and whereas our Kraken can give us 1-1 blue fish, which don't have lots of uses. So we can actually get quite nice casualties off of this counter unless the opponent pays 4, basically, making it a lot more effective for 2 mana. So just that to bear in mind that, you know, we do often have something to sacrifice to the casualty, which really makes this card strong, and that's why we're playing 4 of them. 2 Negate, this is for the Fables, the Invoke Despairs, the, you know, whatever else. The reason Negate is nice in this deck is we're running two creatures, 7 copies in total, that have a Ward 2 effect. So we let the opponent pay for the ward, and then we just negate their destroy. So we're making it that extra bit harder for them to destroy our creatures. Make Disappear again is nice with ward creatures because they've already paid to pay for the ward, so they're unlikely to be able to then pay for the Make Disappear as well, at least on curve or early game. We're running 2 of Joint Exploration, which isn't a card you see loads of, but it's 1 in a blue instant with a kicker green. Scry 2, then draw a card, so it's basically a filter and draw, which is nice for a deck where, you know, we're basically either wanting our rampy mid-game bits or our late-game answers, and we can find the right thing depending on what stage of the game it is. We can always search for 1 more counter spell if we don't have any as well. And then if this spell was kicked, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. If we are, you know, if we pass our turn with 3 mana open and the opponent doesn't do anything, we can always play this for 3 and ramp ourselves if we've got a land around. That doesn't come in loads. I mean, we're running 27 lands in this deck, so there are lots to try and make use of Joint Exploration, and obviously we've got a high curve, so we need lots of land, but I don't find the kicker happens that often. I mean, it has happened, but it's just not something that, it's not the primary use of this in the deck. It's really there because if we're holding open counters and they don't force us to counter anything, I want something to do. I don't want to have passed our turn as well. For Fable of the Mirror Breaker, I won't touch this card, but basically it has, what I've done is every creature in this deck is non-legendary, so we can copy our Krakens, our Sphinxes, our Arbiters and our Titans, giving them all haste if we already have the reflection down and ready to go, because we can create a token that effectively gives the creature haste. So this is basically there to just duplicate our powerful creatures, as well as give us a Shaman that can ramp us into them, as well as give us card filtering. And what doesn't this card do? 2 Jewel Thief. Now, when people first started playing this card, I was a bit of a hater in Constructed because it was like obviously a limited staple. I mean, a 3 costing 3/3 Vigilance Trample that creates a treasure is a great stat line for limited. But what I found is that actually we need to be able to put at least some creatures down, but also that can help us ramp, and there's not really lots that fulfill that in the meta. I mean, there are mana dorks at 2, but the problem with all of them is that they can be cut down, and that is what I don't like. We're missing something that creates us that treasure on entry. The Prosperous Innkeeper would be the slot if it was still in standard, but because it's not, we're actually running the Jewel Thief, which is actually a 3/3 is hard to remove. If people are running 4 cut downs, they end up with them all sat in their hand because we've got nothing that you can cut down apart from the Fable tokens and the Fable things, apart from our 1/1s. So, you know, Jewel Thief is actually pretty nice in that regard. I think it's been improved by the release of cut down as a prospect in constructed decks, especially if you've got a high curve. running 3 of the Weatherseed Treaties are one of my new sort of go-to cards. I've been trying to jam into every deck, and this deck is no exception. Search your library for a land, then on Chapter 2 create a 1/1, so it gives us something to sack to make disappear, it gives us something to sack to Liliana, to invoke despair. That little 1/1 saproling is such good fodder. And then Domain to give a creature +X/+X and trample until end of turn, where X is the number of basic lands we control. We've got all potential basic land colours in this deck, so that can be 5/5 and trample. We can just slam down from our hand if we need to. And given how big our creatures already are and how hard they are to remove with their ward or shield counters, this is pretty nice. I'm running one of Karn's Silex. This was suggested by a viewer in my blue-black deck, and I think it's a pretty good, at least one of, in this deck. So this Karn Silex is a 3-costing mythic legendary artifact. It enters the battlefield tapped. Players can't pay life to cast spells or activate abilities that aren't mana abilities. That has a few uses. For example, Tenacious Underdog can't blitz back in is the main one that I've noticed because of the prevalence of black. But I'm sure there's a couple of other bits and pieces around that cost life to do. So yeah, it's not an irrelevant piece of text. And then it's got X and tap, exile it, destroy each non-land mana value X or less, activate only as a sorcery. So this is good for us, like, if we fall behind a little bit, which we can do with this kind of counter-based deck, especially if we're on the draw, we can play Karn Silex. It's going to slow up what the opponent puts down because they don't want to play stuff when you can just destroy them all. Which we can then sit behind with our counters until we've ramped to the point where we can take over with our big creatures. So it's there as a catch-up mechanism against things like mono red or Rakdos sack Anvil decks. It's really nice against Anvil decks where you can just wipe the whole lot of it away. So yeah, I've had quite fun and nice success with Silex, and I would consider adding more to this deck. For example, I could take my Inventive Iteration slot, although I have been enjoying this card. Return up to 1 target creature or planeswalker to its owner's hand, return an artifact from your graveyard to your hand, so we can't get back Karn Silex unless they destroy it, because it exiles itself. However, we just draw a card, that's a nice thing to do. And then we get this 3/3 Living Breakthrough, which is a flyer, which can't be cut down because it's 3/3, and whenever we cast a spell, opponents can't cast spells with the same mana value. Well, that can be pretty effective against things like if we notice our opponent's trying to get an Invoke Despair down and we just keep playing the Sphinx, it's going to could give us that delay in the opponent getting down what they need to if we're wise with it. We've only got one of them, so we're not playing around it, but it's good to know that we can play with it if we need to. 3 Reservoir Kraken. So this card is one that the only time I've played it before was in a Simic fight rigging deck, because obviously it's a 6 power creature, but it's also a 6 toughness creature, which is why we're playing it in this deck. It has Trample and Ward 2. At the beginning of each combat, if it is untapped, any opponent may tap an untapped creature they control. If they do, tap it and create a 1/1 blue fish that can't be blocked. So I've already mentioned the blue fish with regards to make disappear. This is a 6/6, so it's blooming hard to attack through, so they're almost invariably going to be tapping it to be able to attack through if they're playing some kind of aggressive deck, or they're going to be trying to, if they've got, for example, a Graveyard Trespasser, they might tap it to be able to attack, and that is going to give us these fish that we can then sack to the other black things that they want to do. So again, it's a nice counter to the black meta in my view. Obviously, the ward isn't very relevant. If we jam this on 4 and they just put down a Liliana and force her to sack it, then in that situation it's not great. That is why we're running the Jewel Thieves, the Fables, the Weatherseed Treaties, so that we can try and get an extra creature on the board before we put our Kraken down. But as long as we play it sensibly, this is a very good card against those decks. My new sort of favourite mid-range closer, the Sphinx of Clear Skies. It's 3 and 2 blue with flying and ward 2. I love anything with ward, it just feels so good if the opponent has to pay loads to remove your stuff. And given that people are running Cut Down, which doesn't hit this, Grasp, where they have to pay 2 life already, pay 2 life and it costs them 4 mana, I mean that is just sweet. Domain of basically fact or fiction, so we can look at the top X cards, X is the number of land types, put them in piles and they have to give us one of them. So if we've got 5 land types down, we're probably getting at least 1 very good card or 2 medium cards, or potentially 3 bad cards. So this is going to draw us loads of cards, and also the nice thing is we get the choice. So if there's something we're after, for example a counter spell or Karn Silex, and it happens to be there, there's nothing they can do but give it to us. So we're almost looking at the top 5 and getting to pick one. I mean, that's the minimum of this card really, or look at the top 3 and pick one. So it's pretty damn good effect if you can get in with it. We're running 2 Temporal Firestorms. So this is 3 and 2 red. It's kind of your burn down the house in that it does 5 damage to each creature or planeswalker, but it has this little ability to be able to be kicked, which lets us phase our own permanents out for 2 mana, one blue, 1 on white, so we're only up to 2 permanents. So obviously we're not running loads of white. It's possible for us to get with the treasures here, or Jetmir's Garden I think is our only white source in the deck, so we're not really playing it for the white kicker, but then how often are you going to have 9 mana to board wipe anyway? This is really for it's a board wipe, so it can help us restabilize. It doesn't kill the Kraken, hence why we want the 6 toughness creature, and it can phase one of our things out for blue if we pay 7. So for example, if we go Jewel Thief into Kraken, and then eventually we want to Temporal Firestorm for 7, we can keep our Jewel Thief and our Kraken, clear everything they have out, or everything under 5 toughness, and then carry on. So it's a good sweeper with Kraken, I think. Moving on to our top end, we've got 1 All-Seeing Arbiter. This was in my what I called my biggest and best Simic deck in the last standard, and again it's made one of in this standard because it's just a great drawing card, and actually that -X/-O that it gives the target creature of the opponent can be really game changing if they are, using a Titan for example as something that you can't attack through. If this gives it -5/-O, a 2/7 is a lot less dangerous than a 7/7, and it can make a big difference. Especially if we enter the battlefield with this, then copy it and attack, we get 3 triggers of that ability, so we can basically make their whole board do no damage if we want to. So it pairs very well with Fable, that's why we're running one of these. We're running it instead of our 4th copy of Titan. I won't go into Titan, everyone knows what this does. It pairs very well with Fable, it's a beautiful top end. It can remove things like Bankbuster, it can remove things like the Meat Hook if we're getting drained out. It's just a very, very nice card, not to mention it gives us a top end out against things like Selesnya enchantment decks, which otherwise we can struggle against because they've got so much value coming down on the board. We can't really out counter. That's where we rely on the Titan and the Silex. So that is the deck. Obviously we've got quite good top heavy stuff, so you'd expect us to win as the game goes on, but it depends if we get ground out in the sort of mid-range by the slightly earlier decks. That's where I think our weakness will be, against things like Selesnya enchantments, and potentially against things like mono red if they can get underneath us. So that's the deck. I've got a complete mishmash of lands in here, mostly because I don't have a full play set of these Pain lands yet. If I did, I would play them, because I think because we're running 3 green along with like 2 blue and 2 red, the split mana is needed on the lands, hence why I'm running tap lands which can cycle instead, but they are very nice pairing with the domain ability on Weatherseed Treaty as well. So that's the deck. I'm going to have a few games today for you and show you how we get on. Okay, let's see how we get on here. I'm a little bit dubious, but well, so much for my Mossy Izzet. We are looking very Izzet at the moment, but we can keep. We've got a nice little counter here, and yeah. Soul of Windgrace deck, is it? So I suspect we'll be wanting to counter a Fable. Can't get there in time for the teachings, sadly. Liliana, Titan in there already. Yeah, that's not looking that great for us, is it? Oh, it's almost like I've played this game before. Fable gone. Yeah, still just pure, is it? Who knows what we'll be countering this time? The Wind, no, not even the Soul itself. So, opponent looks a little bit stuck. We'll put our Kraken in. Uh-oh, that's the mana for Soul, which would certainly ramp them a bit, but they're just grasping our Kraken. Okay, well, the Kraken is there as bait for when we get to play our Sphinx. We can always kick this and take control of something. Not a Titan. If they have another black and a Gix, we are in trouble. Just the soul for now. I say just a soul. That gives them their Riveteer's Outlook, which gives them a second black. Or just gives Ziatora's Proving Ground. Okay. So we'll definitely need to be holding open Make Disappear. Maybe even two of them. Let's attack. Inventive Iteration. Could be handy. Can play that and Make Disappear, so we'll put the soul back in their hand to avoid 5 damage. And if they try and replay, we can't counter it unless they do something first, but that's fine. More interested in not letting them get a Titan of Industry. I only got non-creatures, so I could be putting counters on stuff by exiling my counters. We are down to 8, so got to be a little bit careful. Lots of thought going on. I'm going to plump for a Gix. It's looking tempting, isn't it, with an Inventive Iteration and a Sphinx down, to try and bring a Titan back. But they should play Soul, given we've got counter mana open. Yeah, they do play Soul. That's unfortunate. Would have liked for them to try and get their Titan back. Guess we can counter that. We've got spare, and we don't want all this turning into damage. So we can play this Kick It Once and gain control of their Kirin. Get him for 5. Our own Titan, which isn't that helpful to us. But then they know we have a negate if we take that. For their cruelty, which is presumably what they were eyeing up last turn. Obviously we have to block the soul. We have a Ziatora as they could put. They take their own Riveteers, gain more life. So if we block this, we could go to 1. Rather than blocking the soul. And threaten lethal with our Kirin. Can this get buffed? No, but it can gain life. Let's go to 1. Not sure what instant speed damage they can do that we can't negate once. We have to do it twice. So we're presenting 10 plus 1 at the moment, with the Kirin can attack and exile a non-creature. for 0 is okay. They're just trying to bait out our negate. And we only need one thing to negate this turn. I mean, if they had a Soul of Windgrace in hand, they could think that we're dead, because they could Legend Rule their Soul of Windgrace for 1 damage with the meat hook. But thankfully we have Make Disappear as well. Yeah, obviously we'll negate that. And then I think they can see that we have 11 damage on board. They gain 1 life with Rediteer's Outlook. That is pretty nice. So we will attack with these two, I think, as we can't quite kill them this turn. We will exile their Titan, just in case they manage to bring that back anyway. And that Yavimaya Coast, we do need a green, but it's not particularly helpful. That would only leave me with 1 counter. I'm keen to have both, so I will just hold open everything. I've got a 1/1 to casualty to my Make Disappear, but if yeah, that would just give them life, so that would be okay. So they'd have to play something for 5 that is a creature that would cause one of their creatures to die or something like that, or do 1 damage. Now they're screwed because we've got to Make Disappear. Although they could attack with this actually. Surely they just attack. I know, if we don't kill their creatures, we don't die. So I can block this with this and this with this. And then they gain life, but we don't die. So if we kill one of their creatures, we die, basically. God, what a tight game. Good game. That was bloody close, wasn't it? Whew. Just about came through there. That was a fun one though. Had to really think about not misplaying at any point. Whew. GG. Okay, the last one was fun. Let's see if we can recreate some of that magic. This time we're Simic. Okay, I've got our Jewel Thief for a bit of ramp into Sphinx, and we'll see where we go from there. Okay, that gives us one of our red land that we need. And there's another one in case we need Firestorm. Keen to get the Sphinx down early though. Try and get some card advantage. Obviously if they put a Liliana now, yeah, I'll just remove it from my hand. That would stop, that would prevent that. I was about to say I'll be truly amazed if they don't take it. the Ziatoras are probably going to have to use this here to cycle. Yeah, that's a lot of land. In the top 12, we've had 9. I know I'm running 27, but come on. That is a lot. Had a third of our land in the top 12 cards.
No cost is too great to quell my people's savagery.
Yeah, I'm about to say, I assume no attack. I think we just put the Kraken in. Obviously we could bounce the Revealing Eye to be able to hit with the Jewel Thief, but that will still be an option next turn. Oh, we tapped the Revealing Eye for us. That was kind. Giving us a thing to sack if they've got any Lilianas or Invoke Despairs as well.
Dire times call for dire
Nice little, good little fishies. Definitely wouldn't be blocking to an attack this time. Had enough at the Kraken after that. Not going to cut down my fishy, are you? I thought, oh my, what? This is getting out of hand now. Maybe we'll have to bounce their eye. They've got 6 cards in hand already. So that we can kill off Soaring. At least they can't cut down the Jewel Thief. I mean, we don't have a second red, so we can only kick this once, because we need the treasure for the kicking the whites.
Darkness I return.
But we could have a pretty fun Temporal Firestorm on our hand, depending on what the opponent has to play. If we draw a red land, if we draw any more land, we might have to play this turn anyway and just kick for the Jewel Thief. I mean, they're what they're trying to get us to do. Titan's pretty nice. Yeah, I mean, if they invoke Despair afterwards, it's not the end of the world, is it? I struggle to deal with 2 things with ward otherwise. It would be bold to transform that when all we've got is 1 card, but they want to look at it, and they've managed to pike my Titan. That's quite annoying. At least I'll be able to discard this land to the Fable. Unless I want to do both, which I do. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've only got 7 anyway. 8 lands is a good number. And then we've got nothing for them to make us discard anymore. See if they've got a way of dealing with our Sphinx. Need a bit more flat removal. Just a cut down for that. So they have 7. Yeah, they got more. It's a shame. So they can make one of these sleepers a 3/3 if they want. Do you know what? I think we'll block this save us a bit of damage. Yeah, don't think we want a Weatherseed Treaty at this point. We do, however, want a Titan, so we'll take that. Rhino, and do we put a shield counter or do we gain life? This isn't, no. I think we do a shield counter, don't we? That's a pretty tough beast to get through now. Obviously they're running Soul Transfer, but they are also running Grasp. Did you stop? Come the fuck on. That is just ridiculous. They always get it. They always get it. Not even willing to trade the sleeper. See if we can find a Sphinx or an Arbiter or another Titan. Just want them to not have any discard now. Can you just not top discard this time, please? I don't care about anything else. I'm going to chump your sleeper with my Rhino. Good. Then I can get multiple Titans and hit you with them. We'll gain 5, shall we? And we'll gain another 5, why not? That should do for now. They've probably got removal for the Titans, so might as well make the most of it once they were tapped out. Digging for removal, maybe. Only 4 mana left there now, and lots of creatures to get through. Gonna have a Sphinx to deal with as well. Interesting that they actually took the reflection. We'll cycle this in case we find something more interesting. Ooh. Thing is, this presents lethal and has wards, so I think we run that. Titan is basically pinning their sleeper in place because they can't. With 7 trample attack, they need a big defensive blocker. Okay, and there's one of the rhinos down and a couple more cards for them. One of my chumpies gone, my 4/4 chumps. Okay, they're digging with the sleeper again, but the Sphinx has ward 2, so they struggle to find something they can get rid of a ward 2 for 1. Nice. Ah, the ward on the Kraken and the Sphinx feels so good in this meta. Okay, short interlude, and now we're back to Magic the Gathering. Yeah, not perfect, but it's Izzet. Doing some Izzet things. That's nice. That is the correct black 3-drop to play for us. Because now we don't want to see another one of those. Shit. What are the odds?
A fight?
2 in 11, eh?
And you think you can win?
Can any play the
I've
odds?
always hated crowds.
We can do some Sphinxing after this, but if they get Liliana to 2, they will...
Drop it.
Yeah, we've only got 1 green source, so Titan can go. What? I don't believe you, you've got nothing to do with 5. So we're aiming for a Firestorm next time. So we want them to play something, really.
You won't be outsmarting me.
Thank God.
I take no joy.
Perfect.
You feel this annoyance.
Let's ditch that.
Use my
Get rid of all
Knew
that.
this was a waste of time.
And then, depending on what we draw, it'd be nice to Fable again so that we can then copy the Sphinx immediately with this reflection. Cool. Also get some extra creatures down just for safety. That's a shame. Reflection down, but ugh, Sphinx getting discarded. Classic curtains player, this guy. Oof, upgrade. No, better not. No. If attacking gave me enough to play this, I would have done it, but it doesn't. Okay, they're in desperation mode. We'll be copying our Arbiter soon. The idea being I can't really kill off both of my creatures because this won't do anything. Although the power up Bankbuster, I suppose they can kill them both off. That's a bit of a misplay, I suppose. Although, whatever. I needed the treasure to be able to play Sphinx and counter, so it's not the end of the world. And we're getting 85. Now what we want is them to... We'll play that second green source in case we get a Titan. Didn't tap Bankbuster for a card. It's interesting. Oh, they have now. Attempt to invoke? No. Underdog is fine. Because we can just copy our Sphinx. Good game. Alright, definitely on a roll with this one. Let's keep going. Okay. Playing against Turkey. We've got a good opener, apart from the lack of land, but we've got ways of getting it, so we can take it. See if we can defeat a whole country that we're facing off against. Start with the Yavimaya Coast. We have to play this to keep our options open, but we'll play this next. Once we draw a land. Okay. Try and joint exploration. I think it's blue, so I think we actually take a land, don't we? Oh, counter, sorry. Since we actually have a land still. So we could try Weatherseed. I'd say we go for it. They didn't counter the last one. They had to counter something. Let's see what they got now. Let's just counter it with this one. Don't really want to give any free cards away. And do we hold for Negate? Nah. If we get another red, we can always Firestorm away this Shredder anyway. And 6/6 is a big threat for them to deal with. Considering it's War 2 and they've only got 2 land. Quite like that odds. They don't like those odds. Alright. So what are we, 4 for 4? Yeah. Let's see if we can make it 5. On the draw this time, make it a bit trickier. It's been too easy so far. Not really been in the play every time, I don't think, but... Negate, make this appear, Jewel Thief, yeah. Live with this. Okay, where it should be in the game now, because we've made it to turn 2. Given that it's blue-black, I think Negate will have future uses, so we'll play this. Word of Fable, give them something to deal with. Kaito, cool, lots of desperation.
Get in, get out. Easy mission. Our eyes are everywhere.
Let's ditch this cycle land. Okay. So we can attack with this one, play the trade boat, that's okay. And then we can Jewel Thief. And we can have a Negate. Wouldn't it be nice if we drew a Titan next time? Turn 5 Titan would be pretty sweet. Gonna draw Kaito.
There's no secret I can't uncover.
There we go. That's a nice one to get rid of in it. I don't want a Titan anymore, thank you game. Good. Need a second blue source, so let's go like this. Make sure Kaito dies with our Trampler. And then we'll put Sphinx in.
Time to go.
Thirst for Discovery isn't going to help that much. Although I'm not currently holding a counter, but they can't get rid of Sphinx for 2 mana. I suppose they've got 3. Still can't get rid of Sphinx. Can't really cut down a 5/5. Which sucks for you, because we're going to have 2 of them next turn. I suppose you can get rid of it. I literally stand mistaken. And we're still going to have 1 next turn to attack with. No, they're not interested. I don't blame you. Okay, we're 5 for 5 with this so far. Although Diamond 1 Challenger and on the draw with no blue in hand, I think we ditch this. The only thing that's making it at all tempting is the Silex. We have to get rid of that, sadly. No green in hand this time, but depends what they're playing. If we're running into mono red here, we're in trouble. If only I was on the play. Getting rid of that Bank Buster would be sweet. Now they just won't play anything into us because they don't have to. I can't play my treaty because I got no green. Fuck's sake, look, we're just going to get farmed by this Bank Buster. No, you can't have a bloody another one. Dicking about with the one you've got. Let's see your Liliana. They say nice means they're jamming Liliana 100% of the time, or an Invoke Despair, like something with a sack effect. It's the only way that you say nice here. Okay, alright. Stand corrected again. I need to stop making these bold claims when I'm recording. It's a bit dangerous, isn't it? God's sake. Go for the Sphinx. They seem to have proven that they don't have a nice sack removal, which I find hard to believe, having gone through 14 cards of a mono-black control deck. Oh, it's not mono-black. Oh, there we go. It was there somewhere. Just took them a while to realise they had it to play. I just need some green mana, please. Otherwise, we'll just get beaten to death by a bankbuster that we can't touch. Literally beaten by one card here. All good runs have to come to an end with a mana screwing. I'm not counting the deck out though. We had the mulligan and we still didn't get land last game, but that is literally, I think if I can fix my land base by opening a few more of these dual lands, I might be sorted. The thing is, I will be giving myself some more pain with all the one damage off of them, but I think if we could have ramped into either of our things that gave us mana, we'd have been absolutely fine that game. Like, look at this compared to the last game. On the play with a 2 and 3 drop. Beautiful. And even got our top end ready to go. Cult Conscript. What is this? Braids deck or something? Now, I guess we're going to have to counter it, just otherwise we're going to take too much early damage. We've got that anyway. Oh well. We have to fetch green to ever have a chance of playing Titan. Although we actually have 2 greens in our hand, but we've also got everything else we need. An exile your Cult Conscript? No, it's a shame. Sphinx in. Hopefully our 1-1 will give us something to sack to Liliana. Or whatever the sack out is, sack engine. Alternatively, we block Trespassers, Sphinx. Okay, they just fly. That's alright. Let's stop the tide of damage for a short while. See what we've got to play with before we play our creature. We've only got 2 cards. Fable and a Make Disappear. Ooh, so if we crack them, we can keep them Make Disappear. Could be nasty for them. But then Fable, yeah, we'll take the crack. We'll take the Make Disappear and play Kraken. Just so we've got a nice play this turn. Because it means they can't invoke Despair. They know it, but still they can't. They want to, look. You can tell their brain's melting and not being able to invoke Despair. It's like, I've got it, I've got my 5 swamps ready. Please let me cash them in. No sir, you may not. What you may do is, you've eaten alive my poor Sphinx, which we'll then counter with our nice little sapling. would like to keep my Sphinx, thank you very much. This is the only vehicle I've seen without a crew cost. Will they tap the Kraken, I wonder? No, then we'll swing. They'll have to block it, that's fine. All we need is a nice land here. Take the land. Good game. Not a problem. Mono black. Okay. Next one. I'm only keeping because we got all of our colours. I don't like not having one of my 2-drops, but I don't know what to do about that really. Can't mulligan away every hand that doesn't have a 2-drop. I've put enough of them in the deck. There's 8 of them in the deck. If we don't draw them, I don't know, just can't do a lot, can we? But okay, yeah, the old Windgrace deck. Shigeki. Our jewel thieving. A load of hero and touched Orochi. Snake Monk, Spirit, and Snake. Oh, is this Snake Tribal? Guess we'll attack. Oops. Oops. I'm getting oops repeatedly. They got any Titans in there? No. Oh, because they knew they were going to block, so I see. It was their mistake, I guess they're oopsing. Sinks in. Right, I mean, let's just mute this person. Just overusing emote for no reason. The Soul of Windgrace. Yeah, you got plenty of lands to pull in. Yeah, let's just clear skies then. Make this appear, and they're giving me both. It's an interesting, interesting option. They're probably not running board wipes, right? I'll just keep sphinxing, I suppose, until there's any flying defense that occurs, or no blocks. I don't think we need to block. Play a Kraken and hold make disappear next turn. Yep, got rid of one of them. It's a good start. Can attack with both now that they've attacked with the soul. Fine. Yeah. Bit of combat trick here in, but there's no real point. Don't know why they keep giving me all cards. Do they not know what Sphinx does? It does make it a bit easier if you get to just draw 2 or 3 every time you do combat damage. I've got their 7 mana for a Titan now, but no, not doing that either. Don't play that game. God knows what's happening here. If I had a Negate, I would just use Otawara on their soul, but they must have something to respond with here. So. A way of killing my poor Sphinx. Well, we'll just make them pay that ward. They know we're holding this. I mean, they just gave us a 1/1 to use if we needed it. Obviously we don't in this case. There was some very odd play there from our opponent, but I think we'd win even with good play. We've beaten the Jund deck before. We'd have done it again. Okay, and now for a quick look at the stats. A little roundup here. So I actually built this deck on top of another deck that I was playing before, which wasn't very good. So I can't use the overall win rate really, because it's kind of dragged down by what I was doing before, where I was experimenting with Devastator and other things. My latest version, where I removed all the chaff and added in the Weatherseed, another iteration, and the Firestorms for board clear, has gone 7-1, which I recorded all of them on the video for you, so I've not cut out any games. I don't really believe in trying to hide my losses unless they're really boring, like timeouts or just no land, or the opponent has no land. I don't really like showing those games, but yeah, I mean 7-1, 88% win rate, I think I really can't complain about. Obviously it's a small play set still, 8 games isn't tons of games, but you can see that it's definitely a winning deck in the current meta. It is very well positioned against black. It's pretty well positioned against other mid-range decks like Esper and Jund. The things that we struggled against, Red and Selesnya, but we only played one, and I don't even think they were with this version of the deck. No, I feel like we'd do better now that I've put in the Firestorms and the Silex and things. So yeah, I think it's a really good deck. I do think it's like there's room for tweaking and improvements, like the number of Jewel Thieves and Weatherseeds and the Silexes. Maybe I can tweak that a bit and make it a bit more potent depending on how the meta currently looks, but I would suggest go out, try this one for yourself. It is tons of fun, and I really hope you enjoy playing some games with it. If you like this video, please do leave me a like and subscribe. Love you all. See you next time.